remember.
Hello, hello, hello. Let's get that turned on. So, we are here with week 3 of continuous learning. So, yesterday I sent out a newsletter, links, and all that such. Oh, I don't need this because this is not the one hooked up right now. Easy. I can just use my nice headset. So, with newsletter 3, we had some science updates and some new things to go out, which I will be creating videos for those after this one. So, I sent those out. I know everybody, if you have an email, if you're on our Teams or Google Classroom, everything got put out. So, I'm going to bring it up on here first, and we'll go through it. Alright, I am not going to mess up and forget to zoom in this time, because, of course, you cannot see right now. So I believe it was like a 225 there. So greetings, week 3 of continuous learning. So I've been doing a lot more training, so I'm hoping that this additional training is going to give you the things you need. I've been working on a lot with the Microsoft Teams, with Google Classroom, thinking about how to deliver things in a more cohesive way to you guys weekly, and so that you can do your assignments and get assessment and get feedback back. As said, again, this is still optional enrichment. This is not a new grade. Nothing for 4th quarter is going to be taken for grade. But I know a lot of you guys would like to keep up. So this is my way to help you out with that. As I said, we are working with the new tool, Microsoft Teams. If students log into Microsoft Teams, they can use their district email and password, and they have, it's a brand new way they kind of look at it. I activated my classes, and so far I've uploaded all the enrichment activities. And if you have watched us, I think about 4 or 5 days ago, I posted about how to log into Teams and what did our teams even have on it. If you have any issue, there was a link with, another document with the newsletter that tells you how to log into Teams. And you can also call the school for help in case you're having issues with your password. So continue, of course, to make videos on this stream. Every week I'm going to make ones about the newsletter, any activities we have, shout outs, all the goodness of that. For now, since Sedgwick County has not bloomed in the amount of cases of the thing, I am continuing to still do the Jardine Kindness Rock Group. So far, being out in the parks, it hasn't been crazy busy. We've been going to the ones that are less busy. And of course, if I see too many people there, I'm like, okay, it's not the time for me to go to the park. We went out for Easter rock hiding on Friday. I think we hit about 145 painted rocks on Friday. We did Easter eggs, bunnies, patterns, a lot of very spring festive. I know a Spider-Man got hidden out there. That was pretty, people had their eyes on that. If you have any questions, of course, you can go to that website, our Facebook or our Twitter with the Jardine Kindness, and find that. Last week, we did start shout-outs, and of course, every week we're going to continue to do our shout-outs. I'm going to get to those after this. They're at the end. Every week you're going to continue if you're working on. I'm going to keep shouting out everybody who's getting things done. How are you doing? And how's it going? With all these things, you might be asking, what should I actually be logging into? What do I need to actually be doing? Like, where am I finding everything? So Teams, that's where everything is going to come together now and be located. Everything is linking from YouTube into it, Facebook into it. It's linking our Google Classroom into it, our assignments, all of it. Google Classroom, I'm still doing class check-ins, Spirit Week stuff, resources on our main stream. I was going to change all the assignments to our Teams, but some students are not able to access Teams yet, so I'm not moving that over as I was planning on. But classroom assignments in Google Classroom, you can only find those if you go under classwork now. It's not going to be under the stream. So every assignment is going to be under the classwork, just like it would be under Microsoft Teams. So both systems look the exact same, and we're not going to have issues with the systems not working together. Email, I'm always going to do a weekly email, and if you ask me a question, I'll be emailing you back. For Google Voice, you can send text messages. Every week I send out my JAG time with a link to our weekly newsletter. It's a little bit of a endeavor to add everybody's, because there's 99 of you guys that I teach. And so far I have 15 of them added into the Google Voice. I have your names in there, but I have to go each to add numbers and of course make sure everything works. And so far that has been more of a worry, especially since Microsoft Teams is allowing us to now call through there. So I'm going to be using that system. Yeah, Napalm's on the other side, so of course you can see him next to me, but you can't see him in the cat cam above my head. YouTube, I'm of course going to continue to make these weekly videos. This is my face to you guys so that you're seeing that I'm still here. You can still tune in for science. You can still talk about math with me. So far, we haven't figured out how to really do a stream that you guys can interact and play something. So far, people are just watching it later. And I get only about one or two of you actually watching at a time. And one or two of you playing, and then me trying to play with our delay just doesn't work too well. I thought about finding games that are appropriate and trying like Prodigy and maybe streaming that out for some of my math crew. If you wanted to watch a math teacher do math problems, I don't know. I remember you guys watched me do Nitro Type and were amazed at how fast I could go. So, if you have ideas, let me know. You can comment. I would love to hear from you guys and know, what would you like to see? What would be entertaining to see your teacher do? Of course, all appropriate. I'm not doing anything weird. I'll play different games that are school appropriate. So, E for everyone. Facebook page. I am always putting stuff on our Facebook page. If I see something from the city, about our parks, if I see something from the school, I'll share it out. If I see something from our district, it's mainly a social media hub. It's not where you want to go for any enrichment. It's kind of it's kind of like your Facebook feed if you have one. It's just the stuff you send out, but the meat of it, you're going to have to actually log in. If you have questions about this, Teams has everything. Our classroom, YouTube, Facebook are all linked. So that would just have email, voice, and Teams, which I really like only having pretty much one system. Teams is my online, email, and then voice. Voice will slowly get phased out too, but since it allows me to text, that's the main reason Google Voice sticks around, because of text messages. I know that even if you don't have a smartphone, you can text. Of course, my usual send out. Jack time. So this week we would have been talking about resolving serious conflicts. And so we would have been talking about what is the difference between a minor conflict and a serious conflict. And how can you tell the difference? I would think about with serious conflicts that it's harder to calm down, that something else needs to be done, and you can't just push it off. It's not something that you just want to forget. You're still steamed up about it. 2, what's an example of a serious conflict that could happen here at school? I know we're not at school, but when we're at school, what was something serious that, like, maybe it was your friend's disagreement? What was something serious? When I was in school, going back to 8th grade, in my science class, I had a serious disagreement with another girl. It resulted in us pouring our science experiment on each other. I was covered in vegetable oil, and she was covered in water, because we were showing how oil and water do not mix. Hilariously, the best lab for something of that to happen, to show. And we got very upset, and it didn't get resolved within that day. Somebody had to step in, and we actually had to be mediated by the counselor and be like, what is going on? Why aren't you getting along? Are you guys just not being friends anymore? Like, you need to make some of these decisions. We ended up not being friends anymore. We're, as they say, oil and water, but, vegetable oil smells for a whole day if you get covered in it. Just a heads up. Don't ever get covered in vegetable oil. It is not a smell you want. 3, some serious conflicts can go on for weeks or months. So some conflicts never end. So what's something that can go on for a long time? So it's hard sometimes, especially if we don't have resolution, because we want to have things to end. We don't want it to continue. We want to feel that relief of it's resolved. But sometimes you just won't get along with people. Not every single person in the world gets along. There's so many people, we get on each other's nerves. You're never going to get along with everybody. And so you have to think about what is your reaction going to be? Are you going to be able to let it go? Can you move on? Because holding that inside, that's not healthy. It doesn't feel good to hold and harbor that. So I want you to be able to think about what's an example, and how does it go on for a while. I would talk about there's several times that me and my brothers for a little bit didn't get along. I love my brothers now, but we were not always tight. We did not like each other, and that went on, that was weeks, months, that was years. But it's good now. Some conflicts never ending. There's people I don't talk to anymore. And I don't wish them unwell. They're not my friends anymore. I've moved on, and I've realized that neither of us got along, and neither of us wanted to try to, get along anymore. So 4 and 5 were some 4 was a bunch of scenarios, and it would go through. And the scenario started when Liz started dating Rich. Her friend Eddie got really jealous. Now, Eddie and Rich have always been fighting with each other online. So, we got Liz and Eddie. They're best buds. But Liz now has a boyfriend, Rich. But Eddie and the boyfriend don't get along. He's like, she's my friend, but I don't like him. It's a really kind of a weird conundrum. So, Eddie thinks Rich is a jerk. Basically, I know he talks to Liz behind my back. He's basically trying to keep her from being my friend. He doesn't respect me. Why should I respect him? And we start thinking of these roadblocks. And if you look down the definition, a roadblock is something that's getting in the way from resolving this conflict. What is getting in the way? Why can't he get past trying to take that first step? And the first thing is he has that, well, you don't respect me, I'm not going to respect you. This is told to teachers a lot, and I know it sounds crazy, and I know this is told even to parents and stuff, that respect isn't just given. It's an earned thing. And the thing is, to get respect, you also have to give it, though. So, when I go into teaching and I go into a new class, I don't immediately be like, well, I don't respect my classes and you have to earn my teacher respect. No. I respect all of you. The moment you show me otherwise, that I need to worry about something, then I'm like, okay, now we're going to have to look into these things and talk about it. But the get-go, I'm not assuming negative intentions. I'm going in positive. And it's really hard sometimes depending on what's going on with your day. If your day hasn't been good, it's hard to go in positive. You wake up and you're late and you didn't get breakfast and you missed the bus and then your mom was mad at you for having to take you, or you had the walk, or all these different things that happen just because one thing, you wake up early, but it throws your whole day off, and you don't want to go in positive, but trying to go in, always putting that on and be like, okay, I can do this. Take a deep breath, try to release some of that tension, be like, I've had a bad day, I can make it better. And like, going into this, he thinks he's a jerk and they're fighting online, but also we know online, do we always see how people are truly acting? We have this whole courage of these screens, but that's not truly how we talk to each other. So it's holding him back, this whole, he has to respect me or I won't respect him. That holds him back from being able to have more of a positive outcome with going into how his friend is doing it. So then we could think of how could he overcome this. So he could go in, try to be positive. He could talk to him one-on-one. Sometimes I know you don't want to talk it out, but your words are one of your biggest tools. And once you learn how to use them and how to use them in a positive way, you'll start to see how it spreads around you. Sorry, I need a drink. Sorry for my computer. I know if you're hearing it, it's kind of annoying. But I will work on the CPU motherboard combo once I maybe save up. I don't know. Maybe Christmas. So, going then to the other side, what is Rich thinking? So Rich is like, I'm never starting anything. Eddie's always one coming at me, insulting me, getting after me. When I fight back, he's just getting what he deserves. So we get in this thought process with this roadblock that if he starts it, I'm going to finish it. I've been guilty. I've told you guys this. I've been guilty about it. Because he did this, I'm going to do this. But that doesn't make any of it right. And that's the problem we get into. We're angry, we're upset, and all of these emotions make us not calm down. And instead of taking it easy, calming down, thinking about what should we actually do, we just are like, well, I'm going to do this, and he's going to do this, and it just gets bigger, and bigger, to the point then you have a very serious conflict that can result in friendships being destroyed, other consequences. It depends on really what happens and what escalates. Thinking of how Rich could overcome the roadblock. I know it's so hard to be the bigger person and not reply. As an adult, I still have issues doing that. Like, I always want to reply sometimes. Like, I am sometimes sassy. But you got to put it sometimes away and realize that it's not for your betterment. And if it's not for your good, why are you doing it? Like, it's not worth your time. You need to ingest and put things inside your body and your mind that are positive, helpful, and push all that negative out, because there's enough negative. It's not worth your time. And then 5, thinking of a roadblock you've heard today, so thinking about the ones I just talked about, ones I've talked about with me, or one of your own. And let's write some sentences to think about. How can we overcome it? Roadblocks that I always get into, well, if they don't message me first, I'm not going to message them. If they're not going to say sorry first, I'm not going to say sorry. If they're not going to make that effort, I'm not going to make that effort. And it's just unhealthy because you don't really want that. Honestly, most of the time what we want is to be heard, and we want people to see that hurt, that we didn't want that. So that is with our JAG time, our social emotional. I really want you guys to be thinking about how you're thinking about conflict, solutions, and really think about being mindful and nice to your brain. How is that positive? I know it's hard, but bringing that in and doing something that you enjoy. I do a lot of painting. I do video games. I have really weird little things. I love Totoro. I have little Totoro things. Like, there's just find things that bring you joy and don't let people squash it. Math. We're still continuing with your iReady and Mathia. I am sorry to say I don't have anything new right now. I am looking at some Nearpods that are aimed at certain things that then you could be like, hey, I'm bad at fractions. She says this can help me with fractions. Let me sign up for this one. But that's going to be more of you get to choose and pick. So I'm going to have kind of a math choice board underneath these 1, 2, 3s. These are, of course, not requirements. These are things that I want you to think about. Maybe you would enjoy doing. Maybe this is something that you want to work on specifically, that you're like, this is what's holding me back. I want to work on this. And that'll be coming next week. I'm going to start working and planning on that tomorrow. And then building out basically almost like a bingo board. I'm going to figure out what I can do and solutions of things like that. Kind of limited on more than shout outs, but we'll see if I can do some kind of reward. Math games, of course, I still have some Dog and Prodigy. I haven't had anybody actually log in yet. If you are not in my class, you can still get one of these. Just let me know and I'll make you a login and you can still be in our shoutouts. Any of my past students, alumni, if brothers, sisters, anybody can join in. I'm not really against anybody using any of this. I'm literally a resource that, as long as you need help, I'm here to help. Specifically to our 6th graders, I know my first and third hour had 6th graders in it. Miss Russell is creating 6th grade math packet videos. Last week, she did all 10 parts, picking about 1 or 2 problems and worked through them and showed how you could do them. I know if you're a 7th grader, Mr. Cummins is working one-on-one on Google Classroom, and you can ask questions and he'll do videos on there. I do not know anything from 8th grade. I will probably reach out to Miss Breen and see what she is up to so I can then reach out and send that with my newsletter, since this does go to my 8th graders in my 1st, 6th, and 9th hours. I have you in 3 of my classes. Alright, continuing down. Science did, of course, change. Instead of writing it twice for 4th and 7th hour, I'm just going to write the assignments, and I'm going to really go into more why are we doing this? Because you just doing activities, you don't understand why I'm assigning them. And usually in class, I would go through and be like, okay, this is why we're doing it. This is the objectives. This is why we're trying to learn. This is what we want to master. So this is where I'm getting to here. So we have body systems unit enrichment. Unit. Oh, I put unit twice. Sorry. It's basically the body systems unit, and this is enrichment specifically. So last night I put a PowerPoint that lightly went over each body system, and I even made a video that I went and did my entire presentation that you could watch. This week we're going to start into each system and learning its function and why its function is important. The main question, our scope question that we want to be able to answer is, why can you not function properly without one of your body systems? So like your circulatory system, your blood, your respiratory system, your lungs, we're talking about your nervous system, your brain and nerves. So the first one we're going to go into is your digestive system. Specifically, I'm assigning you a Nearpod called What Was It Something I Ate? It's a neat VR with a bunch of little things activities you can do. Go through the lesson following the directions given. It's aimed at deeply understanding that your food directly affects how you feel after you eat it. A lot of times when we do science, we don't talk about food. But the thing is, we ingest a lot of things that in large amounts are not very healthy for us. And so we got to think about what are those amounts doing? How are they adding into our system? And overall, is this good, bad? And I want you to really think about that, because this is not just lessons in class, there's a right answer. I want you to have a deepening understanding of your body and how that works. Number 2, I know it's a lot of Nearpods, but Nearpod has so many different activities built in. It's a great medium that you just put the code in and everything I have is already built in. So a lot of my interactive Nearpods, my interactive learning is going to be in Nearpods. Circulatory system. So this is the next system I go about, and we're talking about, of course, your blood, how that system works. And then, of course, I wanted to do a lab, and here is our Pulse Lab. In our Google Classroom and Teams, there is an assignment called the Pulse Lab. This lab is going to have you taking your pulse after varying times of running around. I use my phone as a perfect timer. If you don't have a phone, any old, one of the clocks actually has the little thing that moves around, it would be perfect to be able to stare at. I did that a lot in our classroom. I'd be like, okay, when the red hand reaches the bottom, stop. This would be best if you could go into like a backyard, because you are needing to run, and I know that running around the house, I do not want any parents or guardians to get upset or anything to be broken. So if you don't have anything going up and downstairs, that's going to be able to do the same thing, because what we're doing in a Pulse Lab is trying to see how much your heart rate changes based on the activity you do and then how long you wait to start the next activity. If you're having difficulty taking your pulse, this video that's linked within the assignment, and you'll see it on the newsletter right there, shows you how to take your pulse through your wrist and through it here. When I take my pulse, I always do it here. And I find it right under my jaw. I kind of have to be quiet because I have to feel it, because every time I talk, my vocal cords, of course, are vibrating and my jaw's moving. So I'm going to stop. We're going to see how bad it is. So I'm going to use my phone. I'm going to go to my timer, of course. Oh, stopwatch is even better. Okay, so I'm going to start with the stopwatch. I always do 15 seconds because that's a fourth of a minute. So I know whatever I do, I can times it by 4 and have an approximate right. I know it's not as good as like the pulse makers at school, but this is a really good way to do it at home. Alright, and stop. So then I take my number and I times it by 4. I have a pretty good heart rate now. I have a 68. I counted 17 pulses and I times that by 4 and get 68. I know sitting, I'm supposed to have a resting heart rate. If my heart rate had been up, I might have been a little bit nervous, or I could have talked about a little bit of the caffeine. But I used to have a worse one when I was bigger. So most of my students, I've talked about this, but it looks a little different. But I was around 310 pounds. About, 6 years ago now. When I started teaching at Jardine. Through losing weight, I did lose a total of 130 or so before I got pregnant. I'm a little back to the middle now, but I'm still down 70, which is still a significant, from 310 down 70 pounds is a significant amount. And just that has greatly helped with my heart rate. And so I want you to think about, when you're doing the Pulse Lab, even thinking back to our digestive system. How does that and that work together? How did what I eat and how did all those lifestyle things change? How did my heart rate work? Because as I said, all these systems are interconnected. And so with them being connected, you need to think about, our question is, back to the scope question, is how will we not function properly without one? So there will be more Nearpods, more labs coming up in the next couple weeks, of course. I do not want to over assign anything. It's not required again. But these are great enrichment activities, and this would have been about 1 or 2 days in class, This would have been about 1 or 2 days in class. This would have been 1 or 2 days in class. So for some of my classes, this would have been the week. For some of my classes, this would have been a week plus a day. So I really wanted to put the pulse lab on there because the thing that would have drove the pulse over is when we would have shared our results with each other. We would have then graphed it to see how did our pulse change over time. With this, I don't expect you to graph it, but I do want you to look at the changes. That is it for our newsletter. I'm going to X that and grab out our shout out. So we've had some awesome work done this last week. So pulling that up, and I'm going to zoom in because of Norse. You need to be able to see it. Zoom. We're in 225. It is how you need to see. There we go. So, greetings. Week 2. So, week 1, we had a couple people on. Week 2, we are getting some heavy hitters with Damaris and Tino hitting max out 132, 130 minutes. You are rocking it. Maya was 61. Donche was a steady 41. That is how much I want you in the week. So, Maya and Donche sticking in our 40 to 60 is our minimum to our goal. So, good job. And Andrea getting on with 16 minutes. Good. That's a day. Donche also with 2 lessons passed. Tino, 1 lesson passed. Maya, you got 1. The other one was a great attempt. If you need additional help on that one, message me one-on-one. Damaris, good attempts on those too. If you're wondering why I'm saying attempts, because with our new iReady, you're also getting some that are on grade level. So, if you are trying to on grade level 1, if it is above a 50%, that is a good attempt, and I'm going to add it on here. No Sundog or Prodigy as of this time. So, looking at Cell Creative Writing for Science, I have not had anybody turn that assignment in to have any assessment or have any shout-outs, so none for the time. Our Cell Quiz, Alonzo last week with a 10 out of 10, Tobin 10 out of 10, Daniela 10 out of 10, and Stephanie a 9 out of 10. Not all A's, perfect, 90% and above. Tobin took our Cell assessment, trying out the quiz. Not the quiz, our Cell test. Perfect on the multiple choice, on the open-ended, got perfect on 5, 8, and 9. Partial credit on number 4, and 3 and 10. See me a little bit. I think you are getting there, and I think you would have been able to ask the question if we had done the test in class, but weren't able to. Body system notes and questions. I do not have anybody who submitted the 2 questions yet. But if you would like to see your name up here, let me know what you've gotten done. You can text it, you can email it, you can send it any way possible to me, and I will accept it. I am going to catch you in the next video when we are actually doing the science lessons for this week. Bye for a couple minutes.